Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. So today I actually was not going to make a video because I was spending my morning casting with Nilly in Nilly's Apartment Cup qualifiers, but I didn't want to leave you guys hanging on YouTube without a video today. So I'm rushing a a video based on a reaction to Spreezy's video titled Why I Quit Age of Empires 2 Reality Check. Now I was recommended by you guys, so people watching me, to react to this video. And I said, you know what? It's a pretty good video. I know a little bit about this guy, so I'm going to go ahead and react it. Haven't seen it yet. 18 minutes, but we're going to probably watch like 16 of it. Yeah, I'm going to give my thoughts on it. So just a quick rundown. He might introduce himself, but his name is Spreezy. He is a variety streamer from what I understand, plays lots of games. Joined Age of Empires for like 6 months, got to 1900, and made a decent splash on the streaming scene, casted with Memb a little bit here or there. So he made a decent splash. I knew about his name rather quickly. A lot of people started watching him. He averaged like 150, 200 viewers, I think, which is not bad. So let's see what he has to say. And unfortunately, he is quitting Age of Empires 2, so it's a bit of a sad note, but it should be a pretty fun watch. And yeah, as always, I'll leave the link to the original video in the description below. Let's hop in.
I love Age of Empires 2, and I've committed quite a chunk of my streaming career on that game. What started as a side project turned into me streaming the game this year for 6 months straight without basically any other game interrupting that. I made videos praising the game. I have my own mods in the game, and now I'm quitting it. Like, I could say that I'm a veteran in the gaming industry at this point. I ran an esports tournament association for years before I started streaming actively on my own channel, and now over 6 years of full-time streaming and content creation. I like to share some of my observations on the current state of Age of Empires 2 as a whole, share predictions, maybe some concerns. Basically, what ultimately led me to believe that it's not worth investing more time into Age of Empires 2. Obviously.
All right. I mean, this is a pretty good brief intro to him. So he's coming in from different games. He had a esports scene set up where he was organizing some stuff, and he plays other games, and he's been a full-time streamer for a while. So this is kind of like one of the guys that if we have him investing into Age of Empires 2, it is beneficial for the scene, right? If he sees benefit in the scene, he comes and then he adds content creation. He adds, brings some new eyes to it. It is a good guy to have around the scene.
This is highly subjective, so it may not apply to everyone. But as a content creator, I need to have fun in the game, but it also has to be lucrative. I have to live off of making content from the game. And in Age of Empires, it seems like it's just not going to happen for me. I'm just...
Okay, I paused quite a bit, but this is something I have to talk about as well. Streamers talking about their finances and their money is always a touchy subject. I personally think it shouldn't be a touchy subject. I think we should be open and honest with how much we're earning, because the information is already public out there for a lot of people that know how to calculate it. And I think if you're open and honest with your audience, with your co-streamers and whatnot, I feel like it kind of creates that transparency so that people kind of understand how things are going for you. They know where to support you. They know, just how healthy the scene is in general. And I don't think it's a bad thing to necessarily talk about it. Also, streamers should not be shamed in like trying to make money. It shouldn't be like some taboo, like, oh, you're selling out or whatnot. Make the money, because this is not something that lasts till 65. So yeah, it has to be lucrative. And I feel like talk about it more.
Present you a critical look at everything that is going on around the game. Take a look at some other streamers and content creators that are, let's say, similar profile to mine, and see how they're doing. So let's jump right in.
Damn ad. These ads, bro. Jeez. 6 months he's doing this?
It's been a few months since I've quit Age of Empires now. I've actually quit it 3 times by now. 2 times because of crashes that ultimately didn't allow me to play at all, so I was forced to. But this last one, I think I'm quitting for good, unless something amazing, miraculous happens that brings me back. I've heard from a lot of people that I made a mistake by quitting, and that I was progressing really well since I got to 1950 solo
Oh,
rating
nice. That's pretty good.
in about 6 months of pure gameplay. And it was nice to have a new face in the community, people were saying. But it's also concerning that they didn't really understand why I quit and what goes into a decision like that. But let's first talk about some other veteran players quitting Age of Empires, or at least quitting full time and like big commitment to the game. I guess the first one would be Jordan. He was a member of the biggest esport team in Age of Empires, GL, and he quit because he couldn't make a decent living from being a pro and a streamer, even though he had some pretty decent numbers on Twitch, and he was getting some winnings from tournaments as well.
So just to clarify, Jordan quit basically just the streaming aspect, or not. He didn't 100% quit. He lowered his time. He got a real full-time job, like not a real, but he got a full-time job away from Age of Empires, and he streams only here and there, and he can still competes in pretty much all the major tournaments.
But it was inconsistent, and it just wasn't enough. I mean, he has a family to feed. Nilly from the same team was maybe a little bit less pro, maybe a little bit more caster. He had his own reasons as well, but after this tournament that he's doing right now, he won't be committing as much time as he was previously. So I did a short analysis on the biggest streamers of Age of Empires on Twitch, and here's a very interesting finding. Almost all the top streamers belong in at least one of the two categories, which are pro player playing
Caster.
for prize money in tournaments, or a commentator. There is no third category. There are really
Okay, initial impression. What other third category is there? Spirit of the Law, like that's a content creator on YouTube. On Twitch, you won't succeed. You won't succeed on Twitch if you're not pro player or commentator. But that's because there's not really like what else can you do? YouTube is more of a platform to grow, like Spirit of the Law. He's neither, and he's the most successful YouTuber we have. So I feel like maybe don't stream on Twitch. If you want to be not in one of those, you can do YouTube stuff. Also, you could do community games on Twitch, but you know, kind of oversaturated a
no
little bit.
solo/team players that don't compete and don't cast tournaments and have a successful Twitch stream. So let's take a look at the list. Memb caster, Hera pro player / caster, Dave caster, T90 caster, Viper pro player, MBL pro player, Nilly both, Tato pro player. Survivalist is the only one that I wouldn't call a pro,
And he grew through YouTube, which furthers my point. YouTube is the content creation platform for that.
even though he does play tournaments. And he's also not necessarily a caster, even though he does cast. So he's like the only one that I would say so far that would be my profile of a streamer. Doubt Pro, Hard Pro, Jordan Pro, or Nulu caster. We don't have to go forward. Like we're gonna see some more casual streamers now, but these are the most watched streamers, casters and pros. But what's interesting is that the highest non-pro non-caster only has 200 concurrent viewers on average. 200 viewers is probably not enough to make a full-time living from Twitch, especially in Age.
Yeah, okay. He's raising a really good point here. So like the difference between the pro casters and pro players compared to like the next step, it's a pretty big jump for sure. I just feel like if you're comparing the numbers on Twitch, Twitch is, at least for Age of Empires, geared towards competitive gameplay. The only exception to this is T90, who does a lot of community games, does a lot of Loyal Legends. It's still a commentator, but it's not around the competitive scene. And I feel like you could build something up like that, but it does feel like the barrier to entry is a little late. I feel like T90 doing this starting 10 years ago was kind of key. Like if another T90 were to come right now, I don't know if he'd get any market share, which is a big problem. So I do see what he's talking about here. It does feel a little saturated on Twitch. Hard to like squeeze in your niche. Again, YouTube is a better platform, but let's see what conclusion he comes to.
of Empires, I would say it need at least 500. If you've ever tuned into Mem TV streams, when he's not doing tournaments, when he's doing either 1v1 or Black Forest games, which are team games, you'll notice that he has between 3 and 10 times less viewers than when he does tournaments.
True.
And that also makes sense, right? Mem is not a professional player. Like he plays it casually, above average skill level, obviously, but it's not the top level. But it also is a bit concerning that he can't get even close to his usual viewership, which is when he's casting. I think this is because of the maturity of this game, or, well, bluntly said, how old it is, that casual streaming is just not interesting 25 years down the line. And due to all this, I just don't think that there's a market for someone like me. If we look at Mihai, who's an up and coming player, he wants to be a pro, he's trying really hard, he's practicing, he's also streaming that.
Casted Mihai today for Jordan.
He made a video where he said that he makes like at most $400 per month, and that's like a gross value as well. And the worst part is, if you look at his stats, his stream isn't even growing. Obviously, a stream will not just grow all of a sudden. You have to be a good streamer. But he's one of the few people that were interesting to watch because they were just breaking out of the pleb world and into the pro world. He's just not doing well enough, I guess. Another streamer is Andre, who streams his mornings in the downtime of Twitch, let's say. But there's still a lot of viewers that want to watch. He's been hovering around like 100 to 200 viewers for the last almost 2 years now, right? Even though he's been pretty consistent with his streams, and he's also improved a lot, but he's not really growing. He's actually going down if you look at the last 1 year.
Yeah, so again, I have to interrupt here because it kind of reinforces my point. I think the growth platform for Age of Empires is just YouTube. Like, no one's gonna be going through Twitch, browsing categories, and finding Age of Empires, and then watching a 100-viewer streamer. They'll go to Age of Empires when they see T90 at 30K hosting Hidden Cup, when they see Nilly at 20K hosting NAC, like, oh, what the hell, 20K viewers for Age of Empires? What is this? I used to play this game. But on YouTube, they might search Age of Empires 2, how to beat campaign, how to beat this, how to do this. And then that's how I got my name out there with guides and stuff. YouTube, people do search for Age of Empires here. So maybe it's just the wrong platform for growth. Twitch, that is.
So the Viper mentioned in a recent podcast that he likes to host people that are smaller, that are up and coming. And I think that's great. I mean, Viper is a very genuine guy, and he likes to help out. He's a really nice guy. But if you have to rely on the Viper hosting you to be able to grow your stream, well, you're doing something wrong.
Great point.
And a topic
point.
a lot of streamers don't really like to talk about, and some did, like Jordan, like Mihai. That's stream revenue. And I have to say, other than a few people supporting me, new viewers, some old viewers, I wasn't making any money from streaming Age of Empires. Sure, I could have pushed more on YouTube, even though I created a separate channel where I posted 1 video per day. I could have done this or that, but at the same time, maybe I would quit the game anyway. Also, another thing that hits you really hard when you're just streaming your ladder games is if there's a tournament happening at the same time. Yeah. You're looking at basically between 30 and 70% reduction in your viewership because of the tournament, which ties pretty well into the caster pro player narrative from earlier. Okay, so this was like a meta business analysis, but what's wrong with the game itself? Well,
wait, I have to comment that last part. So that's a really good point. So to be honest, like, I feel like we could talk about YouTube. He did start a separate channel, so he was trying that. I guess I didn't see what he was up to and whatnot there, but I guess it just didn't click. But I think he raised a really good point with this. This is something that I personally have a lot of opinions on, which is the tournament scene. So I might make a separate video about this Thursday, actually, because it's such a big topic. And right now, we have too many tournaments. Let me explain to you briefly what is the problem with that. It's not like it's I work too hard. It's like something that sounds good but is like actually your flaw. No, like too many tournaments is actually kind of a bad thing. Let me explain why. First of all, it's a great thing for me because I am a pro player. I'm one of those guys that benefits. It's a great thing for casters and pro players who are full time because hey, you make a tournament with 0 prize pool, I can stream it, I'll play it. I'm gonna be top tier, like guaranteed, basically top 8 at least. So I'm gonna be relevant in it. I don't have to practice much for it. I just play it and stream it. My audience enjoys it. Perfect. Do that on repeat. I'm happy. SD tournament with big prize pool. I'm happy. Where's the problem? Player number 20 to 100. And streamer that's not a pro player or a caster that he mentioned, a commentator, they can't stream when there's a tournament happening, and they can't really grind the ladder because pro players don't play the ladder when there's a tournament happening. So the pro player number 20 to 100 on the ladder, which are really great players, they can't do anything when there's S-tier tournaments happening. And right now, there's an S-tier tournament, I kid you not, back to back. For the last year, it's in back to back. We haven't had a single weekend break, I feel like. Maybe in 2023, we had like 4 weekends throughout the whole thing as a break. Max, maybe even like 2 weekends. We've had just non-stop top-tier tournaments to the point where the smaller events are overlapping with the big events, and the big events leave no space in the calendar. Who does this benefit? The pro players and the casters. And I can just stay quiet and be like, oh, I'm benefiting. I'm not going to say anything. But I don't see this as a good long-term plan. My suggestion, we cut down the amount of tournaments and we up the prize pool, especially for the qualifiers of those tournaments, so that the lower ranking players, who are still great players, have a bigger piece of the pie to play for and have 1 or 2 months before big events to prepare, to plan, to schedule their lives around. I'll make a video on Thursday, a bigger one, tackling this point. But it's a really important point, I feel, for the Age of Empire community here.
First of all, and this hit me as well as a new player, is that the new player experience is pretty bad in this game. There aren't that many new players. You start at 1000 elo, which is incredibly high for someone that just started playing. You're going to lose your first 10 to 20 games. It's guaranteed. And from what I've read, from what I've heard, a lot of people just quit because they can't handle losing nonstop. They have to go all the way down to like 500 elo to be able to beat someone. And maybe you didn't know, but most players that play this game actually play single player only.
True.
There's an illusion that there's like tens of thousands of people playing Age of Empires multiplayer, but really they're not. Here's another fact that is pretty concerning, and I've heard Hera talk about this a lot. Since Definitive Edition came out, and when people started playing, 0% of those new players have become pro players.
True.
Or at least they haven't broken into even top 16. Closest were Margugu and Mihai and guys like that. But really?
Yeah, on this note, people think like guys like freaking Andy, guys like Sito, guys like Hart. People think that they're like new players. These guys have been around for like 15 years. Guys like Vinchester, they're not up and comers. They've been here for like 15 years. And they've just been up and down. And recently, if they're on the rise, it looks like, oh, they came out of nowhere for like the casual viewer, but they've been playing for like 10, 15 years. We've had 0 up and comers breaking the top 16. Mihai, Margu, maybe Sebastian. Those are the names that are closest as he's mentioning. So it's a point I made. I stand by it.
The top 16 has been the same since the old version of the game.
Also, as far as like the starting at ELO 1000, that's a great point. I've been thinking about this for a while. We should make the starting ELO 500. I do a lot of coaching, and it's not fair. Like, people start at 1000, they're new players, and then they'll drop ELO. And as a coach, I'm just like, okay, like I know you're gonna lose. Like, you're clearly a new player. I'm gonna try to help you, but like every game's a loss for like the next 10. So I try to tell them, hey, don't worry about the loss. We're gonna build up good habits and everything. But like, you're just not at 1000 ELO. You're gonna drop to 500. So I put out videos explaining how the process works. But realistically, we should drop the ELO to 500, which makes it better. So when you actually hit 1000, it's not like, oh, I dropped and I hit it back. It's like, oh, finally I hit 1000 for the first time. We'll make a Reddit post. People can celebrate that. It's a big milestone. Drop to ELO 500. Maybe do a soft ELO reset to bring the pros down before we hit 3K or whatnot. And I think that would be like a better new player starting point. You still can go down if you're like a below average player, below skill level, but you have a lot of place to go up. That could be an option.
What is the incentive for someone to try to break into the top 16 when even the pros in the top 16 cannot live off of their earnings? Only a few players can, like only the top players that win tournaments or get very close to winning and are on a team that pays them enough monthly, which is like one team. Can you even imagine how long it would take a talented gamer to try to get into the top 16 if he started playing today? I would say at least 2 years of full-time playing. You have almost 50 civilizations in this game. You have 1,000, literally 1,000 combinations of civilization versus civilization matchup. They need to know up front how it's going to play out, because this game is just played on experience. Of course, it's a super hard game, but without experience, you're nothing in this game.
Mm-hmm.
The professional community is also being funded by Microsoft, big donors from the community, and play cricket sounds. In my opinion, that's not esports. There needs to be an ecosystem that funds the pro scene.
That's one of the major struggles of Age of Empires. That's why I think we should have less tournaments, slightly bigger prize pools for them. Because if we have tournaments constantly back to back, we're literally just milking all of Microsoft's money. And it's like, let's be honest, like whoever hosts the tournament gets the biggest piece of the pie. The top four of the tournament gets the biggest piece of the pie for the players. So like the casters get a lot, the players get a lot. The top four players, no one else gets any piece of that pie. Microsoft is dumping their money, and that money is landing into like the pockets of 10 people. And I'm one of those people, luckily, like these days. So I'm very grateful for that. But like just because I'm benefiting doesn't mean the system's okay. Doesn't mean I'm just gonna be like, oh yeah, let's keep it going. It's like I'm benefiting and I'm seeing all my friends and colleagues and just people I see in the community trying so hard and getting like nothing. And I'm just left feeling like, wow, that's not fair. So I think Microsoft should put in more money for the tournaments, or like same amount of money, just more compact into like fewer tournaments to give people time. And let's spread out that money so that other people can benefit. We want like 100 people to earn from tournaments. We don't want just 4 to earn decent money, and then like another 10 to earn some scraps here or there. So that's a big problem.
Not Microsoft giving money to tournament organizers and then some people giving like 5 or 10K to see a tournament happen with no return.
Also, big thanks to the donors in the community and the community funding. But at the end of the day, we're not guaranteed to have you guys. We're actually lucky to have you guys, because without you guys, a lot of things wouldn't be possible. But it's not, I kind of agree with them. It's not really like natural, or it's not really a long-term strategy to rely on the viewers to fund the scene. Because at some point, listen, guys, like, no one's going to really want to keep putting up if, it's only viewers funding events at some point. So we do need to find external sponsors. Red Bull was great. They're not here anymore, sadly. I hope they come back, but we'll see if we can get more. And yeah, I think everyone should be making an effort at the top to find other sponsors, but it's not guaranteed.
It's just barely staying alive right now. Also, remember when I said that there's tournaments happening while you're streaming? Well, that's almost every day, unfortunately. And that is because tournaments are spread out as much as possible. Every game is streamed. You have like 100 players, and then almost every game is streamed. Tournaments last for over a month sometimes. That is because the funding is limited. People want to make the most out of the money that is given to them. I mean, you can understand it, but it's not great. At this point,
I mean, this is something like we have to be completely honest. Like Microsoft gives the top casters like $80,000, $50,000 for tournaments, and they say do whatever you want with it.
This is just not.
It's like there's like no accountability. There's no like they give it to always the same names, and then like always the same players get to the top. So like he's bringing some hard truths to the table. It might be a little awkward to listen to if you're like a casual viewer, but this is truly one of some of those problems that we have. And like if we take a look at some of the recent tournaments that we've had, like for example Warlords and stuff, if you analyze how much the host of the tournament made, like Warlords, before that TTL, if you look at what the host gets out of it, they get like months of YouTube content, and tournaments click hard. They get all that Twitch ad revenue and multiple thousand viewers on their channels. So, like hosting events is 100% lucrative for hosts. And then you also get on top of that a lot of donations if people want to support the host channel. So it's like a lot of work goes into it, but it's also a lot of money funnels towards those same host channels. And then, like I said, the players who are in the top spots are getting paid handsomely as well. And everyone else is getting overshadowed. You can't stream during it. You can barely play. So we're reiterating the same points, but they're true. They're true.
Not interested in Age of Empires 2. Just look at Hera and his team Aftermath. Hera is the best player right now. He's won almost everything in the last year, and his team is made of top players. But they don't have a sponsor. They don't have a pro team to represent. Apparently, it's hard.
We had multiple offers. They fell through.
Hard to market the players playing this game. I mean, some of the players also to blame. They never did any YouTube content. They never stream. It's kind of required today to be a content creator on top of being a good player in a game. So that's why the Viper and Hera are the top two players, and also like two top two content creators of their type. The only big organization in this game is Gamer Legion, and I guess the main reason why they're still here is because of the Viper and his social influence, because nobody should underestimate how big the Viper is in the Age of Empires community. Let's talk about the devs a little bit.
Yeah, he's huge.
Which is one of the main reasons why.
Viper's the biggest name we have, in my opinion. Like, I think T90 hits the biggest numbers on like YouTube and tournaments. Spirit of the Law has the most subscribers on YouTube, for example. But I think the Viper is a name that like even like very casual Age of Empires, like he's like the face of Age of Empires, in my opinion. Like I think his name holds the biggest weight, and I think he's earned that. So respect to him.
Quit. So Microsoft's main focus in the last few years was Age of Empires 4.
I'm gonna skip this part.
And that game failed.
I don't think that's
hard
true,
as well.
to be honest.
Age of Empires 2.
I don't think that's true, but I'm gonna skip that part too much because I don't have much info about AV4.
So you have to pay $5 to $10 to play the new civilizations and new campaigns, which I guess would be fine. Like nobody's complaining about the price of the DLCs, at least from what I've seen. But here's the problem. This approach of adding 1 or 2 civilizations in each DLC is so incredibly lazy. You add so much meta complexity for little to no gain, especially if the civilization becomes underpowered really fast and nobody plays it. You add like hundreds of combinations of matchups by just adding these civs in. The civs are so similar. What's the point? StarCraft has 3 civs. Warcraft 3 has 4 civs, and these games are insanely hard to balance. And now you have almost 50 in Age of Empires. How to balance that?
I disagree completely with this point. A civilization in Age of Empires is closely related to a champion in League of Legends. Like every champion is different in League, but they fit into certain roles or subcategories. Same thing in Age of Empires. You have like, okay, every civ is different. There's 50 civs, but then there's like infantry civ, cavalry civ, camel civ, meso civ, archer civ. There's like 5 categories. Maybe like water civ, and then like a lot of like small things in between. So it's not like it's a completely brand new civ that changes everything.
To play that. Also, kind of forced to play random once you get better at the game, to keep the game fresh, to not have your opponents yell at you because you're playing Mongols every game.
Yeah, civ picking gets shamed, and I don't agree with that. You should be allowed to pick your civ if you want to.
But then at the same time, if you don't play a lot, if you play random, you get a civilization that you never played, or you play so rarely because, I mean, there's so many civs. You can only play so many games per month. Sometimes you don't see the same civ more than once per month. You forget what the civ does. Also, the balance patches, they change what the civilizations do all the time. It's just incredibly hard for new players. Incredibly hard. This is the hardest game that I've ever played. I'd like to wrap it up with one more thing that affected this decision quite a bit, and that is the physical and mental stress of playing Age of Empires. Obviously, this is very individual, but after I'm done streaming Age of Empires, I need to go and relax for a full hour before I can do anything else that requires any mental power. I feel so drained that I can barely have a normal conversation IRL with any focus. The only other game that ever did this to me was StarCraft, and I've quit that one too because of that. So what am I doing now? Well, I'm playing another strategy game for fun. It's called Beyond All Reason.
Okay, I think that's probably the end of like the AV2 segment, so probably what I'm going to comment on, just some closing thoughts here. I agree with the stress part at the end. Like competitive Age of Empires is hard, it's stressful. That's why we should always respect the pro players for providing us, entertainment. Don't bring anyone down. Always, push them up because you can just tell from this video how many sacrifices pro players are making to compete. And yeah, overall, I think he made some really good points. I think the biggest one is the tournament one. Actually, I think there's too many tournaments. I think that's too many tournaments. Price pool trending down. That's a really big problem for up-and-coming players, and I think that's the first thing to address. I also think, let me know in the comments actually, I think there's a viewer saturation right now. Too many tournaments back-to-back. I think some viewers just can't even keep up anymore. I think that's a big problem. So thanks so much for watching. I'm going to make a follow-up video on the tournament situation on Thursday, most likely, so we can further discuss this. And again, I'm pro communication, pro putting things out there. no BS. Say things how they are, no hiding stuff. That's how I like to do things. And yeah, that's how I'm going to continue doing things. And I'm looking forward to continue the discussion. Shout out to Spreezy. I want to thank him on behalf of the AV community for the splash he made into the scene. I think, even though he's quitting, I think he, brought good things to the table. And I wish things turned out better for him. But I hope he, takes this experience as, some learning lesson for himself, or I hope he enjoyed it, even though it might not have been everything he hoped and imagined it to be. So thank you, Spreezy, and it was a pretty good video overall. Even though I might have disagreed here or there, I do think he raised some really good points, and he added a lot of perspective to the table. So thank you for that. Check out his original video in the description below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.